Good morning, beginning farmer friends. We've got the 4010 started up and warming up behind me because we're going to be grinding some pig feed today. But before we do that, if at any point during this video you think to yourself, I kind of like this video, please give it a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, hit the notification bell, put a comment down below if you have any questions or if you have an answer to a question that I have. Let's get on with the video today. In order to grind our feed, we got to get the soy meal out of this bulk bag and into these buckets. So while the 4010 is warming up, I thought, let's get a little head start here. We can fill 5 buckets up. That means we only have to fill up 5 more when we go to start putting it in the grinder mixer. That's a good thing. And I also got to thinking, you know what? How many videos about grinding feed can I make? I mean, this is something that I do once a week. You don't want to watch a video of me grinding feed every week or a how-to video of me grinding feed every week. So I thought, what can I do a video about today? And what I realized is there is a lot of farms like ours out there that are doing amazing videos right now about what their 2021 goals are. A lot of small scale farms, direct marketing farms, and they're talking about these are what our goals are for 2021. I have no idea what my goals are for 2021. So what I did come up with though is 5 questions that I need to ask myself in order to figure out what my goals for 2021 are. We'll talk about those today while I'm grinding feed. Question number 1 that I need to ask myself right now is what needs to change on our farm this year? What do we need to do different? What do we need to improve on? Where do we need to grow? All of those things are questions that I need to be asking myself as I look at what our goals are going to be for 2021. Farms, like all businesses, constantly need to be changing. Now that doesn't mean that farms need to constantly be growing. You don't always need to be raising more pigs or always need to be raising more chickens. Sometimes the change means shrinking something down and growing another thing. Sometimes the change means keeping everything numbers-wise the same, but increasing efficiency or increasing the way you do things. I just realized that I turned the PTO on but did not hook up the PTO shaft. Let's get back to this discussion in a second. Round number 2 here. I wondered why it didn't sound any different when I turned that on. In our case, the changes actually do mean growing some things in some places. Maybe raising the number of pigs that we raise, increasing the number of egg layers, bringing in a new flock. There are a lot of different changes that we're considering and we need to do, but it also is just like efficiency things and lean process things. There's a lot that we need to change on the farm. So as I'm looking at my goals for 2021, what we need to change needs to be included in some of those goals. The second question that I need to ask myself in the coming days and weeks, I'm over here clearing some snow out from underneath the auger, is why aren't those projects that I said needed to happen on our farm done yet? Way back in August, I think it was like August 26th or 27th, I posted a video that said 3 projects that need to be done on our farm ASAP. One of those projects was that freezer right over there, getting it installed and put in the shed. That didn't happen yet. The second project that I mentioned was getting a farrowing greenhouse for the pigs. That's not even kind of on the radar. At least I've got some steps taken to get the freezer going, but greenhouse, that's way out of my league right now. And the third thing that I said needed to be done ASAP is I needed to start revamping and rehabbing our sheep flock. That hasn't even begun to happen in any way, shape, form, or thought. So then, if you're like me, you may be wondering to yourself, why hasn't Ethan made any progress or just a little progress on any of those projects? I mean, he said those needed to happen ASAP. That was back in August. It's now January 2021, a whole different year, many, many months later. And the reality is that, well, I have made some progress on the freezer room or getting that freezer over here by putting the cement in, but I just haven't been able to put all the pieces together as far as an electrician and getting the different pieces that we need for the freezer. It is a big project, and it's a project that we're trying to do as money comes without having to strain the income for the farm or the family. So it's a project that hasn't happened yet as far as that goes. Progress has been made, and progress will continue to be made this winter, but with the snow and the frozen ground we have right now, I'm thinking that we're going to be waiting to do that project until, well, the spring. What about the farrowing greenhouse and the sheep? Actually, that's a pretty easy answer. That just comes down to money. We decided to use the money for the concrete for the shed. We're deciding to use the money for the freezer and the electrical and everything that goes along with that, and then the doors, because that's all part of the freezer project. So those 2 projects that were so important earlier in the year with the whole freezer situation, I realized that they couldn't be as important as I wanted them to be. They're still very top of my mind, but unfortunately, I don't know how soon they're going to happen. We'll just have to see how things shake out in 2021. What do I do with that information now that I have it? Well, I think what I do is I sit down and I try to plan. I map out the money, I map out the time, and we decide what needs to happen in order to get the freezer in the shed up and running. What money is that going to cost? How much time is that going to take? And who do we need to come alongside and help us, whether it's hiring a contractor or asking help from a family member. I got to put all of that together in my head. That's the second question that I need to ask myself in the coming weeks. The third question that I need to be asking myself is, how are we going to increase our sales this year? One of the changes that I know we need to make on our farm this year is we need to grow more. We need to raise more pigs. We need to raise more egg layers. We need to raise more chickens. Maybe that's a question coming up soon. But if I'm going to raise more in those changes, how am I going to sell more? How am I going to reach out to new customers? How am I going to expand the sales to the customers that I already have? All of those things need to be thought about and planned for so that when we do have extra meat in the freezer, we're able to sell the extra meat that we have in the freezer. This is a pretty big question that I need to focus on in the coming days and weeks as we look at what our goals will be. Question number 4 has to do with these guys here. Well, not so much these guys right here, but more so their meat producing cousins. Are we going to raise meat chickens this year? And what is that going to look like as far as how we raise them and how we process them? 2020 was a difficult year for us when it came to meat chickens. We had taken 2019 off, so getting back on the saddle was a little difficult. We didn't necessarily have the setup the way we needed to have it, and so raising them didn't go particularly well. And then there was the whole processing issue. We had a brand new processor in the state of Iowa at the beginning of 2020, and just a few months into the year, that processor had quit doing official chicken processing, which really threw a wrench into our system. We were able to go to a different processor, which is a smaller processor as far as numbers of chickens they can do than the one that we used at the beginning of 2020 and the one that we had used way back in 2018. So we're not quite sure what's going to happen with chickens this coming year, and I have to ask myself that question. What are we going to do with chickens? If we are going to raise chickens, we need to build some better infrastructure for raising them. What is that going to look like? A wagon, a shed, a sled? I have no idea what that's going to look like right at this moment. And then number 2, if we're going to raise them, where are they going to get processed? And honestly, before we can figure out how we're going to raise them, we need to figure out where they're going to get processed, because you can't have one without the other. And the processing, that's the very most important part for us, because that's where we make the money from all the money that we put into the chicken. I have no idea how this one's going to flesh itself out in the coming weeks, but we're gonna have to do a lot of research to come up with 2 important answers on this one. The 5th question is actually kind of a fun one, and I was thinking, I haven't taken you to robotics for a while to show you how the kids have been doing on building their robot. It's a working, functioning robot now, so I think I'm gonna answer the 5th question at robotics tonight so I can show you the robot, and then we'll talk about what question number 5 is. We are here at robotics, so now it's time for question number 5. And question number 5 is, how are we going to make better connections with our customers this year? By the way, there's Caleb over my shoulder. There's the robot right next to him. We'll get to the robot in a second. Here's the deal. You don't have to go too far back in our farm history to come to a little thing called the farm crawl. The farm crawl was an event that was open to a whole bunch of different farms, 6 or 7 different farms, 8 farms, depending on the year in our area, and people could go from farm to farm on a Sunday afternoon. It would bring over 1,000 people, sometimes well over 1,000 people to our farm, and it was a great day to connect with people. People could walk around the farm, we gave tours, we talked to customers, we sold a lot of meat, and since we stopped doing the farm crawl, we haven't had that same connection to our customers as we have had in the past. How are we going to solve that this year? Of course, it is a crazy year. We don't know what it's going to look like, but I would really like to be able to have some events on farm for our customers, for potential customers, for people to come out and see how we do it. I would like to do a better job of getting out there on social media. I actually am going to be taking a class, an online class, of course, about social media and using social media, so hopefully I'll learn something there, but this is something that I really want to wrap my mind around in 2021 as I think about setting the goals. Those are the 5 questions that I have that I need to ask myself and kind of come up with some answers for before I think I can make the goals for my farm. It's going to be a while before I have a goal video. I've got to figure out some things before I can figure out my goals. Now, let's get to robotics. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope there was something in there that maybe you can take into your own farm or into your own life as you look at 2021 and start thinking about the goals you're going to make for the year. I know I could really use some help as I process these questions, so if you've got any thoughts on it, comments down below. I hope you are having a great day, a great morning, a great night, a great whatever time it is. We're gonna go make a robot move around the field here.
That might mess it up.